Richa!
Hello. Good
Hello.
morning. Well, I guess it's not morning for you.
Well, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us so early on the West Coast.
Thanks for getting me up early. I've been sleeping in lately, so this is getting me back on track.
We're so excited to have you, and I hope everyone's excited to meet Richa in real life, or
Hi
as close to real life.
everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi Pramod.
So one of the reasons we're so excited to have Richa, not only is she badass, she's been in the film industry and in acting and performing for a really long time. She's been dancing since she was at least 5. I met her over 5 years ago, and she's in a breakout role today as, Kamala in Never Have I Ever. One of the strongest ladies I think we've seen on television, getting a PhD in biology at Caltech. And we're here just to dish all things the show, you, and, where we're headed. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for
Okay.
having me. I'm so excited.
All right, Kamala. Okay, let's start with Richa. Tell me when you figured out that acting and performing was your calling.
Yeah. So I grew up learning dance, Indian classical dance. At the age of 5, I started learning Kathak and ballet also. And honestly, I can't remember when in my life I decided I wanted to become an actress because it's been for as long as I can remember. But I assume it happened around the time I started dancing, and I used to watch a lot of Bollywood movies also. And seeing Madhuri Dixit, I said her name wrong. Madhuri Dixit, seeing her in films because she's also a Kathak dancer. I think when I was so young as a Kathak dancer and just having a fascination for movies and seeing her dancing, I was like, oh, I do that dance too, so I should be an actress too. I think that's how it started.
So you were just young, and what's your favorite Madhuri movie?
That's a good question. I don't. Devdas, definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't
Some
know why I
people
had
are
to think
asking,
about
where
that.
is Steve?
Where is Steve?
Yeah.
What do you mean, where is Steve? Where is he? I don't know. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah, guys, we don't know. I mean, everyone's self-quarantining here. Steve is a character not staying with Kamala at this point. Can you can you say hi, Carla?
Hi, Carla.
No spoilers. Okay, we're not going to do any spoilers, but we are going to talk about how you broke into the LA scene. One of your very first roles was actually with Mindy in the Mindy Project, and you were quote unquote the hot girl from Princeton who was the fiance, I believe, of Ed Helms. Tell us about that experience and what that was like.
I love the fact, now that you're bringing up that I was from Princeton, I love the fact that Mindy always makes me this really intelligent Ivy League student. My parents must be so proud because that did not happen in real life. Um, what that experience was like working on the Mindy project?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was amazing because it was my first job ever on TV. I had just moved to LA, I think a year before that, and was still learning, what auditions were like. I was still working on my craft, and I obviously still am. And I remember getting a call from my agent saying I didn't know much about the show because it hadn't come out yet. It was still shooting in the first few episodes. But I knew who she was, obviously, and I was so excited to see that there was a show that she created and it was an Indian role. So I went to the audition and booked it, and it was one of the most exciting moments of my life because it was my first TV job, and meeting her on set was, I had just finished reading her first book, Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me? And I felt like I knew her so well because I just read her book. So when I met her, I was like, I just read your book and I know everything about you. And I think she thought I was a stalker, but hey, we're still working together. So I guess I didn't scare her too much.
Do you think that helped in the second time around, when you were going for Never Have I Ever? Like, did you have a sense for what the project was looking for because you'd worked together before?
No,
Yeah, okay, no. It was
no,
completely.
it's a completely, as people, I mean, if you've seen, I'm talking to the people reading this, if you've seen both shows, you'll see that they're completely different. The stories are completely different. The characters are completely different. Um, so yeah, and I hadn't been in touch with her after I did the Mindy project. That was 8 years ago, and it was just a 1 day shoot, so it's not like we were in touch or anything. But when I saw that this show was happening, we didn't know much about it besides the open casting call that she posted. And I was just excited to see that there was not just one, but three leading female Indian characters. So I knew that I wanted in.
That's awesome. Um, we got a question in, which is, who is your favorite character in Never Have I Ever?
Who is my favorite character? That's a good question.
Apart from yourself, I guess. Well, you can answer about why you love
It's
your
not
character.
myself. I don't know. I love all the characters. Every single character is so dynamic and so interesting and just lovable. But I guess my favorite character is Purna because, or I should say Nalini, because it's we just haven't seen many South Asian women playing that role of an immigrant South Asian mother in America, and the way she did it, it was just so nuanced and so accurate but hilarious at the same time. And she's this overbearing, strict mother who, as a teenager, you would probably hate, but because of how just real she is and vulnerable she is, you still empathize with her and you love her. And she's hilarious.
And no spoilers, but one of the things that's amazing about Melody is, we were talking about this, Richa, is yes, she's like overbearing, but then you also see those moments where she's quite generous, right? Like
Yes.
in the first episode, I'm not giving too much away. Like Devi has a really crappy day at school, and Purna, aka Nalini, goes like, "Why do you let that Ben Gross rally you up? Isn't he just 5'2"?" And like Devi goes, "That was savage, mom." Like it was kind of like she just has this power to her where she's like, "I don't why do you care about these people?" She doesn't hate, she hates the aunties, which is also very fascinating to me, that character. Because I think when people think about mom, they think they're just like an auntie, and she
Yes.
isn't.
Yeah, she has a really funny line in that scene where we meet the aunties and then Devi says she's gonna go and meet that professor, and Nalini says something like, "I'll just stand here and try not to kill myself," or something. It's so funny.
I did notice that. And to go back to your character and why we love you so much, Kamala, is this biologist, and people crash into trash bins because she's so beautiful. But at the end of the day,
Oh
you have
God.
this line where you're like, "I could never be a model. I'm just too curvaceous," which I found hilarious. Oh wait, we have a great question. We're going to get to the accent in a second. Someone's Distancing Diaries is asking about that. We'll get there.
Sure.
How did you balance that? Because I think for a long time, the way Indian women have been portrayed in Hollywood, or even more of the indie films, is usually, oh, just a beautiful woman. And even if they're smart, they focus on the beauty. But the show is not really like taking that tack at all. They were able to make fun of the fact that you're beautiful through all those scenes, but they also really highlight who you are. How did you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think that, this show and the character of Kamala, the way it was written, did a really good job of breaking through that. And yes, she's supposed to be this seemingly perfect inside and out character, but there's so much more to her that you see as the series progresses and the arc that she has. And you just see that she's a very vulnerable person and she has insecurities just like anybody else. And she wants to be more than thought of as just this beautiful girl who can cook dosas and be a good wife. She wants to be so much more than that. There's a line I remember in I don't even know if they wrote this on purpose, but I connected to that moment where there's no spoilers here, but she's just talking to one of the characters, and he's upset because Nalini and Devi are insulting him, and Kamala says to him, "Well, at least they said you're nice and smart. Those are some of the best adjectives there are." And I took that as nobody ever tells her that she's nice and smart. All they ever tell her is that she's beautiful and she cooks well.
That's so true. Oh,
Yeah. So I don't even know if they wrote that on purpose. But the writers are genius, and I do think it was there for a reason.
the writers are genius. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so many amazing things about it. Okay, since this was asked a lot, I think we have to talk about
Is it the
this.
accent? We have to
The
talk about the
accent.
accent.
Okay, so most people
Well,
don't know
obviously, I
this,
don't
but
have
in
one.
IRL, Richa is Indian American. So, and actually, to your point, the writers being really smart, the producers were really thoughtful about how this was done. Tell us
Yes.
about it.
Yes, it was done in a very thoughtful way from the producers and the writers. We all really wanted to be as culturally sensitive and as accurate as possible. So we did have a dialect coach that I believe it worked with me, and I believe also worked with Purna and Sendil, who plays the father, just to make sure that we all had a consistent. It didn't have to be exactly the same, but we wanted to be at least sort of consistent with each other, so we sounded like a family. But that being said, all of them also have, different life stories, which would make their accents a little bit different too. So, we don't know too much about Kamala's backstory. Hopefully, if there's a season two, fingers crossed, then we will see more of the backstory. But so I kind of really had to come up with it on my own. And I just took it that, yes, she's South Indian. She probably grew up in the South, but she's extremely educated and she has probably studied at big universities in Mumbai or Delhi or maybe even abroad. And now she's in the US. So I wanted her accent to definitely have a South Indian um, inspiration, but with more of kind of a neutralized sound that you wouldn't be able to exactly pinpoint where she's from. Um, and yeah, working with the dialect coach really helped. And I also just listened to hours and hours of YouTube videos. And I spoke with that accent in real life to my husband for like 2 months, and he was so irritated.
I feel like so many hearts are breaking because, you have a husband. Just so people know.
Yeah, we were planning our wedding while we were shooting, and we got married the week after we wrapped.
Wow. Oh my God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
People are asking, were you born in India?
I was not. I was born in the Bay Area, California. But I've been to India like, I don't even know, 30 times. And I met Snigdha here in Bombay while I was living there. I lived there from 2013 to 2015 by myself in Mumbai while I was pursuing acting there. So
Yeah,
India is very, very close to my heart.
India's great. Yeah, Bombay is like such an amazing city. Okay, more questions.
Te
Um,
ama.
if you were to change anything about your character, what would it be?
That would change anything? Oh, that's a good question. Huh. I don't think I would necessarily change anything about her. I just want to see more of her backstory, like I said. I think she's such an interesting character, an interesting person, and I would love to see, it would be so cool to see like a flashback scene of her in India before she moves here to see, what her life was like and why she is the way she is. And I think that would just give more information to the audience, but also more depth to the character.
You also have some fans from Trinidad. Yeah, I think we
That is amazing.
it's amazing. I think one of the other things we'd love to see, and again, this is no spoilers, is one of the episodes takes the eyes of another character and does the entire episode through the eyes of, another
Ben,
character.
yeah,
And
yeah.
one of the things Richa and I were talking about is like we're so excited to see those things happen through the lens of other characters. And another thing that happens, again, no spoilers, is that there's usually a very distinct narrator for each character.
Yes.
Richa, who would you want to be your narrator?
Ooh, that's a great question. Huh. I don't know. Who would I want to be my narrator? I have to think about this. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
The producers are listening.
I know. Wow, that's like the most interesting question. I have to think about this. Mm, oh my God, everyone's waiting for an answer, right?
No, don't worry. They just love talking to you. Don't even worry. Take the time.
I would say Madhuri because she's my favorite actress in the world, and that would be a dream come true if she narrated me.
I hope the producers are listening to that. Please get Madhuri to narrate an episode of Never Have I Ever. That would be
If
awesome.
Madhuri was my narrator, I would be able to, as soon as we wrapped, I would be able to die a happy and complete person.
I love that. We have more questions. What part about the character of Kamala is most similar to you, Richa, or resonates most with you?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I moved to Bombay by myself a few years ago to pursue acting. So, and Kamala did the opposite. She moved here to pursue her PhD. So I guess just the fact or the act of moving across the world to pursue something and to be really independent and ambitious and have dreams, that resonates with me a lot. And at the same time, I think both of us are the kind of South Asian women who feel a lot of pressure from family and society. And we also just have really high expectations of ourselves. We want to be the perfect daughter, the perfect sister, the perfect student, the perfect everything. And so that can sometimes get in the way of us doing what we want or even knowing what we want because we just want everyone around us to be happy despite moving across the world to do what we want.
That's actually really true. Yeah, I mean, there's this scene where, again, this is not spoilers, where everyone, you had a hard day. Kamal had a hard day, and everyone, like Baby and Melanie, were complaining about the sugar level of the lemonade.
I love that part.
And you're like, forgive me for caring about this family sugar intake.
I know. My mom was like, that's exactly how you are at every family dinner.
It's like controlling everyone's sugar levels. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, another question from Madhuri Stewart. What was your favorite off-screen moment, like behind the scenes that wasn't on camera?
Yeah, that's a good question. Off-screen moment. Well, this wasn't really off-screen, but it was kind of, I mean, it was behind the scenes, but also while we were shooting. There's a scene, no spoilers again, but there's a scene where the family is eating dosas for dinner. And if you're not Indian, dosas are like, how do you describe them? They're like crepes.
Rice crepes, like rice flour crepes.
Yeah, they're like and they're delicious, and they're usually made with like a lot of oil or butter, and you eat them with like potatoes or chutney. And anyways, we were just so excited that on an American television set, we were having dosa for dinner. So me, Maitri, and Purna, like in the first take, we just stuffed our faces with dosas. And then we forgot that we would have to continue doing that for continuity purposes. Continuity meaning it has to look the same in every shot. So we had to do that for 4 hours, and I have not had a single dosa since then.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dosas are Indian pancakes. That's a good way to put it. And they can be sweet or savory.
That's very true. That's true. We actually have a story on the American Dosa on the Juggernaut. Check it out sometime. Priya Krishna wrote it. She's awesome.
Ooh, will do.
Who was your favorite co-star to share screen space with?
Aw, now you're gonna get me in trouble.
Oh yeah.
No, I loved working with everyone. Honestly, I can't choose. I worked the most with Maitreyi and Purna, so I didn't get a chance to work much with the other characters. I did have a scene, I think maybe Eleanor and Fabiola are the only two characters I never had a scene with. Hopefully if there's a season 2. But yeah, so I guess most of my scenes were with Maitreyi and Purna, and we really became like a family. I mean, Maitreyi really is like a little sister to me now. And we have this really like funny sibling rivalry kind of relationship where we just like say really mean things to each other. Like yesterday, she was all excited about getting 100,000 followers, and I messaged her and I was like, "You're still the biggest loser in the world." You know, as a big sister, I got to make sure that her head is in the right place. But no, she's amazing. She's a rock star, and she was such a joy to work with. And I learned, even though it was her first time being on a set, and I have been on many sets before, I learned so much from her, and I'm so grateful that, you know, I've had that opportunity and hopefully will again. And then Purna, on the other hand, is, you know, a seasoned actress who's been on so many sets, and she's someone who, even before I worked with her, I've looked up to her for so long. And when I found out that I was going to be on a show with her, it was so exciting for me. And I've learned so much from her, I can't even tell you. And even now, like after the show's been done, every time that I don't know about something, because this is all pretty new for me too, she's like my mentor.
Okay, we got some spoiler questions, but we're going to get to them later. Another question I had for you is, like, one person is asking,
Hi, Jihan.
How accurate was the representation of Never Have It Ever to high school? I would ask, how similar was it to your high school experience? Like, what were you like as a high school kid in comparison to what was going on there?
You don't want to know what I was like as a high school kid. But you know, for everyone it's different. Like some people have told me, like, I don't feel like that's accurate at all. I don't know anyone who was like Devi, and I definitely was not like Devi. And then there's some people who are like, I was exactly like that. So I don't think there's any one right way of showing a high school character or group of characters, because every experience and every school and every individual is different. I would say that for me personally, I totally resonated with, I didn't even lose a parent and I wasn't grieving or anything, but I did go through a phase where I was literally obsessed with boys, and all I wanted was to have a boyfriend and to go to parties and to go to a party and kiss a boy. Like that's all I wanted to do. And I don't know if it has, I'm sure it has something to do with, you know, having strict immigrant parents who, you know, I wasn't, I love my parents and I have such a close relationship with them now. But, you know, in high school, I was terrified of them, terrified, especially my dad. And, you know, I had to sneak out of the house sometimes in order to just go out with, well, to go with boys. And obviously I wasn't going to tell them that. So, so yeah, okay, fine. You got that out of me. I snuck out of the house. I was bad. Hope there's no kids listening to this. But yeah, you know, I do get that. And, you know, I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that that is such a weird time of all of our lives in high school where we're learning about ourselves and about our relationship to ourselves and to others and with our parents. And there's so much pressure on us from every angle. And it can be a very challenging time, a very awkward time, and a lot of insecurities. And it's just, yeah. So I do think that for me, I feel like it was pretty accurate and it hit home in a lot of senses. But yeah, for everyone, it's different.
100%. I think for me, I remember in high school, I definitely had a crush on like somebody on the swim team. Like that was always a trope, right? Like, because they were always so nerdy, but also cute. They weren't.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Stuyvesant in New York, and it's such a nerdy high school. And I remember there was, I don't know, Andre, if you're listening, there was a guy on the swim team who was half Malaysian and half Romanian, and he just reminded me of
interesting.
Paxton Hall Yoshida.
Yeah, he sounds exactly like Paxton Hall Yoshida.
The twist was that he actually also did Model UN with me. So he was like a mixture of Ben Gross and Paxton in one.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you, do you feel like you resonated with any of the characters or with Baby's characters from your high school experience, I mean?
So when I was talking to Madhuri and interviewing her, what was really funny is I felt that on the inside I was probably like Baby, but on the outside I'm probably like Maitri. So Maitri was saying how she feels like she was very asexual in high school, like everyone's her homeboy.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like that's how I was. I was like a super nerd, so all the guys were like my homeboys and my friends. But probably inside, I didn't realize that I had crushes on people because I just couldn't fathom that I did. And it took me a long time until I got to college to realize that maybe I did have a crush on that swim team guy.
So interesting.
It was so good. I think that's what made Never Have I Ever so powerful. Because to your point, even if you don't relate to anybody exactly, there's just strands you can follow and try to psychoanalyze yourself and be like, was I like that?
Totally. Yeah. I feel like there's things in all of the characters, well, maybe not all the characters, but in several of the characters I felt like, oh, I was like that, or that reminds me of something I would do or say. So it's not like I'm completely like one character, but it's that's what I love about this show, is it does such a good job of bringing up things and showing really dynamic characters who, whether you're South Asian or not, you can relate to in different ways.
100%. I also want to talk about the men in Never Have I Ever. What's really interesting about the way the men are depicted, again, no spoilers, is that everyone is actually, there's no bad behavior. I think one of the things you see in the Mindy Project is like, you know, not in a bad way, but there's like a string of men who treat Mindy terribly. But in the show, like whether it's Ben or Paxton, they're actually super respectful to the women around them. Whether it's the way Paxton treats his sister, or the way he like tells Devi, like, you do you, Devi, you know, Vishwakumar, or the way Ben Gross constantly gives her advice. Let's talk about that. Like many of them men, like the fathers are missing, but the younger men are all super respectful. How did that come about? Like, what was that dynamic like?
I mean, I never even thought about that, but that's a really great point that you're making. I don't know, you know, maybe it was just, I'm sure it was intentional, because I think everything in the show pretty much with the way it was written, I'm sure it was intentional. But yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that before, but yeah, I mean, all the relationships with the men in the show are fascinating, and they feed into the relationships that the women have with each other also. So I don't know, I have to think about that more, but yeah, I think that's a really interesting point.
Also, Anthony from the Great British Bake Off said you were awesome. I don't know if you watched the show, but he just said
wow. Thank you so much.
Anthony's a huge fan.
Okay. Thank you.
We have another question. What scene was the hardest for you to act?
The hardest scene to act. No spoilers, but in the finale, there's, and if you've seen it, there's a really emotional scene between the family, and it was difficult because there were a lot of technical challenges. We were shooting on location at a beach in Los Angeles, and it was sunset, and it was freezing, and we were losing light, and there were a lot of just things happening that were making it tough to shoot. And that being said, it was also a very emotional scene, so we needed to be very present and, you know, not be worrying about technical things. But I mean, we have the most amazing crew on this show, and everyone made us so comfortable and made sure that, you know, we never had anything to worry about. So it was challenging in that sense, but we were, you know, especially Maitreyi and Purna, I mean, just their performance was one of the most beautiful things, and it's that moment has stuck with me for a very up till now. So yeah, I would say it was that scene, but it was also the most fulfilling scene.
Oh, that's really awesome. Oh, I feel I'm hearing your echo.
Oh, I don't hear any echo.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Okay, this is a really fun question. Which cast member is more likely to laugh in the middle of a scene?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Which cast member is more likely to laugh in the middle of a scene?
Oh, that's a good question. Purna would laugh a lot, and then she would make me laugh too. I had to like really contain myself every time she would laugh. Like when we did that scene in the second episode where we're Skyping with my to-be in-laws, and she says the "I do eat eggs" line.
Yeah.
We Oh no, you froze. Can you hear
sorry.
me?
There's some weird there was some weird disturbance. Sorry. So with the "I do eat eggs," yeah, that was hilarious. She's like, "I do eat eggs," and that's like another thing. Again, no spoilers, but Melanie is such a cool like aunt. She covers for her nieces.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She's amazing. Cool.
I wish I had an aunt like that.
Okay, this is very controversial. Were there any relationships on the set?
Like behind the scenes?
I guess.
No, and even if there was, I wouldn't tell you. There were a lot of friendships, I'll tell you that. And we're all really good friends. We all hung out, you know, even outside of set. We got together and we had parties and pool parties. So we're all super close.
There you go. There you have it, guys. She's very trustworthy. You can tell Richa anything, and she won't tell anybody. Paxton or Ben?
Both.
She's also very dramatic.
They're both great actors, and they're also great people, and they're both great characters. And I hope that we see a lot of both of them if there's another season.
There you go. So when do we find out if there is a second season?
I don't know. You tell me.
We want one. I think the verdict is out. Everyone wants a second season.
I think there's a strong. I'm not going to say anything. I think there's a strong chance we'll get one, just because of how amazing the response has been. But that being said, you know, we just never know. I've heard that Netflix usually takes about a month or two after a show releases, based on how it does, to announce. So hopefully we should know within a month or two. But fingers crossed.
Okay, last few minutes. What was one of the most surprising responses you got to the show?
You know, I think we knew that this was going to be really exciting for not just the South Asian community, but everyone. But just even before the show came out, like when the trailer came out, or even just some of the promo pictures, the messages that I've been getting, and I know the rest of the cast and Mindy and Lang have been getting, it's been overwhelming and just so beautiful just to see how many people feel they're so excited and they're so grateful that they have a show that they feel represented by, and that they feel like they resonate with the characters. And even just to see, even if they don't relate, even just to see, you know, a non-white young South Asian girl being the lead of a show, that just never happens. And it's very exciting for us, and I think for many people. And, you know, I've been getting so many messages, and I don't have the ability, the bandwidth to respond to all of them, but I'm so appreciative and grateful, and just so happy to see how many people this show has been impactful for and meaningful for. And that, you know, that's why we do what we do, that's why we want to tell these stories, and that's why I hope filmmakers and studios and producers see that there is such a need for shows like this.
And do you think we waited too long? Do you think this is, yeah,
Oh, it's long overdue.
it's long overdue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just the start. I mean, this is one family, and luckily in this show you get to see not just one but three different perspectives of the South Asian experience. But beyond that, there's so many more stories and so many more experiences, and obviously we can't represent every single individual's experience on one show, so we just need more content like this.
Awesome. And then Richa, one of my last questions for you, do you ever see yourself becoming also a writer or a director and just, doing your own show? Like what do you want to do next?
I would love to do that. I think it's I haven't yet written any scripts or anything like that, but I do have ideas, and I do have the desire to create something of my own. So being on a show like this is an extremely good platform for me, and it's also just a huge learning experience. That being said, I still have a long way to go. I have a lot to learn, but it's definitely on my bucket list, I would say, to create something of my own.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Richa, we actually got 3 more questions. Can we do
Sure.
3 more minutes or something?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
let's
fine.
do it. People are loving you. Okay, 1 more second. What advice do you have for those interested in breaking into the acting industry? This is from Wise Central.
Yeah, thank you for the question. My advice is, if there's anything else that you think you would want to do or that you're good at, do that, because this is not easy. It is, I haven't done anything else, but it's a very, very challenging, very, it's the kind of career that you have to go into knowing that it's just like any other profession, like whether you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. It's going to take years of hard work and training. And my three, she got this role in this dream way that I think people think that's what happens to people in Hollywood. But what happened to her, I'm telling you right now, does not happen. Like, that's like one in a billion chances. So, and it's because of her talent, obviously, and she's a very special person. But that doesn't usually happen. Usually what happens is there's years of struggle and years of rejection, and you book something, and then there will be more years of struggle and more years of rejection. There's a lot of peaks and valleys. So anyways, my advice is to, if you really want to do this, do it, but know that it's going to take a lot of hard work, and you have to be willing to take a lot of rejection and feedback, and be willing to put in the work and the discipline and the perseverance. But if it's what you really want to do, and you love storytelling, and you want to be a part of projects that are helping to inspire and shape the world, then this is the best place to be. And we need more people telling authentic stories.
Yeah. And Richa, how do you manage that for yourself when you had those low points? Like, what do you do for yourself to make you get through it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey, and it's been a learning experience. I'm really grateful that I've been raised by a family who has instilled me with, a lot of values, and also I would say tools to be able to cope with low periods in my life. I do a lot of meditation. Self-care is very important to me. So whether it's, exercising, eating well, meditation, journaling, and all those things really help during the low periods. And just also, it's just going through it and learning. It's all part of the journey. And honestly, I'm glad that
you have so much to do, but we're just lucky to have you. We're so lucky to have all the words you shared. I think people are so inspired by you and your story. So keep doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, thank you to everyone who joined. It's so awesome to see how many people are enjoying the show and want more. We want more too.
Amazing. Thanks, Richa. Any last words for anybody else? We're gonna close, shut down.
No, but if you haven't seen the show, watch it.
Watch the show. It's on Netflix. Never Have I Ever. Check it out.
Oh, and as of today, we're, at least in the US, we're #1 on Netflix for top 10 shows. So I woke up to that this morning, which was a pretty great thing to wake up to.
Well, move away, Tiger King. It's all about Never Have I Ever. Check it out. Thanks, Richa. Take care.
Thank you, Snigdha. So good to talk to you.
So good to talk.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.